Good evening, everyone. Hope all is well. Welcome to another live session at PTH Properties. This is why I do it to increase knowledge, increase wealth of knowledge, just to spread positivity amongst everyone, amongst the human race. Today, we have got a business coach who is going to be joining us. Let's send this to him, and he's going to be talking about how with coaching experts like himself. So, hello,
Hi, Mujtaba. How are you?
good, and yourself? Thank you so much for joining me, and it's a pleasure to have you on. It's also a pleasure to have you because we come from the same community, the Dawoodi Bora
Mhm.
community, and it's good to bring out our community members to show the world what we are doing, how we're doing it, and what it takes to drive people in business. So thank you so much for joining me to share that
You're
knowledge
most
today.
welcome. You're most welcome. Um,
Before we move on and carry on the conversation, if you can introduce yourself as to who you are and what you do so that we can carry on.
okay, right. My name is Taher Mulla. I live in Birmingham, and I'm a performance coach for Buffing Leadership International. I've been in this role now for 2 years, helping businesses basically improve.
Okay,
And at this moment in time with the pandemic, we are really busy because people need help because it's, as you know, the market is very chaotic.
of course.
And chaos means there's lots of opportunities.
Yep,
And, you know, one of the things we're going to talk about is mindset. People
absolutely.
can always assume, oh my God, what's happened because they have a sense of norm. But a positive mindset will always look for opportunities. And I think that's one of the key things that the pandemic is going to give people,
Of course,
especially in the business arena.
absolutely.
Um,
I want to take you a few years back in your childhood into your young teenage times. We all grow up thinking, aspiring to become, a doctor, a lawyer, an architect, or an engineer. Especially coming from Asian backgrounds, our parents
yes.
are like that peer pressure, like, son, you got to do it. You got to study at school. You got to go to university. You got to get the degree. Did you have aspirations as that in mind, or was it always helping people, driving people within their business and doing some sort of a coaching, training, entrepreneur business?
I mean, basically, right, I've always been somebody that helps out. That's my natural status, so to
Of
speak.
course.
But I started off, I went to a normal comprehensive where we had a gifted year, so everybody was really good, and so we pushed each other because we were all roughly the same level, and so was one of the top students at school. I then went to a grammar school for my A levels, and that was the first time where I realised actually, am I good enough? And so reflecting back on it, what that actually taught me was about mindset.
Yep.
We can all be as good as we are capable of. The only thing, the main thing is are you going to put in the effort
Of course.
in order to be as good? Because that is, I mean, as a business coach, one of our key phrases. I mean, if you look at our mission statement, you can't read it there, but I'll read it to you. Is our mission as a results coach is whatever your belief, race, sex, creed, or color. What's most important is that you contribute to make things better.
Of course.
So as a business coach, that's what we do. And our values are add value to yourself, i.e. plan, add value to the team, i.e. share,
Yep.
and add value to the organization, deliver it.
Of course.
For those are the, So everything I'm going to talk about is based around those particular mission statements and our values, because I think um, a lot of businesses, they don't actually have those two things in front of them.
Sure.
And when you do, all of a sudden, it gives more focus. I mean, one of the key things I always say to people is, it's not how good you do it, it's, are you doing the right thing? Because if
But
you're doing the right
but
thing,
there's a very thin line in that, right? I mean, am I doing the right thing? And the thing that I am doing, is that right? So
well, you see, that's where your objectives come in.
of
You
course,
know, are you doing? So, for example, in your business, right, what is your purpose?
of course.
What is the purpose of your business,
Yep,
right? So for me, our mission is about improving people's lives.
yep,
Because if you improve people's lives, then actually you give them an uplift in all aspects.
of course.
Because one of the key things you've probably realized is that your personality manifests itself in your business.
Yep, absolutely.
And and the biggest thing is that in business, those manifestations can either be positive or negative.
Yep,
So the example is if you're tarded and you're not good at timekeeping in your business, that will cost you business. Because if you're late for appointments or you don't send in your invoices on time, etc., it will, it manifests itself. So one of the first things we look at, as I said in our values, one of the first things you look at is yourself.
absolutely.
What contribution can you make?
But
Because
sometimes it could be right that you just spoke about time right now, and people don't have time to possibly get to appointments or send the invoices or send an email out. Possibly they're not using the right avenues to get those things done. I mean, the first thing that when I started my business, like BTH Properties,
Mhm,
the first year I had to do everything myself. Make the
mhm,
brochures, send the emails, go to the appointments, get the properties on board, do the business, do the deal,
mhm,
all that sort of stuff. But then I realized that if I spend all this time doing everything within my company, I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life. And I won't get enough time to do it. And that is why I had to go out and hire a few people. So isn't that easy to realize for people that if they don't have time, they should buy someone else's time?
So the first thing I say to people is, because one of the key things we talk about is leadership,
Yeah,
right? So as a business leader, what is your main purpose,
of course.
right? So your main purpose is to make sure the jobs gets done as efficiently as possible,
Yep,
right? Because the more efficient you are, the more profitable you become. It's, that's simple metrics. So a good leader is one that doesn't do everything themselves. They empower their line reports or their team to do the core duties. So as one of your other colleagues was saying on cybersecurity about GDPR, etc., you get an expert in that field because then you don't have to do it yourself. One of the biggest issues business owners have is if they have a little bit of knowledge about something, they think they're experts,
of course.
and
And
so they
they're,
do it themselves.
yeah,
And and that's a human trait because one of the, especially within the Asian culture, because one of the key things we've been brought up as is to do things economically.
say, say,
However,
keep
doing
saving.
yeah, doing things economically isn't profitable.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you have to spend a bit more in order to get the right results. So I don't look at things as in terms of economically. I look at things in terms of value.
Absolutely.
And it's, I mean, this is again, the pandemic is what is a key example of a lot of businesses are going to go on cost cutting, right? Well, one of the key things that all businesses need to look at is not to cut the value to your customers
Got you.
because you know yourself, right? Because of the market that you work in, as long as you provide value to your clients,
Yep.
they will always come back.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and
And
and,
and, and,
and
and, and I'll say something to you out here because you're speaking about the pandemic and the lockdown and everything. I mean, when the lockdown sort of took place, I think it was March 23rd, 24th, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And before the lockdown, I lost three key deals, which sort of I had the back of my mind that these go through, and if lockdown comes in place, I'm fine for the next few months,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
But they fell through,
Mm-hmm.
right? And where I sort of leveraged myself is that I did not cut my costs. I carried on the way I should have. I mean, if the business was running normally, I just spoke to my marketing team and I said, look, there are hard times right now, but I want to continue with you guys. So, can we defer the payments that I have to make to you for the marketing to a few weeks down the line?
Mm-hmm.
All I had to do was ask. And they said, yes, we'll do that because they understood as well what the key thing is. So I think a lot of business owners, what they tend to do when they come to a bottleneck or that sort of time when there is difficulties, they tend to start cutting their costs. They get rid of everything and they think that
Exactly.
we'll do it ourselves, we'll cut their costs. But the point is, if you keep that going, there may be an opportunity that might arise from that and will pay off all the work that you're doing.
Okay, right. So again, one of the key things that you've said there is that you planned. You looked at what happened and you found a route.
Of course.
I mean, so one of the key things that we do at Buffin whenever we have a coaching session is we provide a learning experience. So one question I've got for you,
Yep.
what is the difference between knowledge and experience? What is your opinion on that?
Knowledge is what you gain from the experience that you have had for God knows how many years.
What's the difference,
I mean, knowledge is
right?
is is
Okay, let me put it really simply,
yep,
right? Knowledge is the learning that you've got.
of course.
Yeah. Experience is the application of that learning in a practical sense, right? So you can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you don't know how to use that knowledge, it's not worth anything,
Absolutely. You're so
right?
true. You're so
Right?
true. Because
So, so
so this is where I changed myself in terms of getting better, like all the social media that I'm doing right now.
mhm,
I was doing it before, but I wasn't using it to the fullest potential. But when
yes,
lockdown came into existence, I thought, why not do these live sessions? Why not give out the knowledge that I have and I can use this as the best way possible to share that knowledge. And
mhm,
through that, in the last 2 months that I've been doing do these live sessions and giving myself that exposure on social media, it's been absolutely amazing. People are,
and
yep, sorry.
sorry. I mean, what I was going to say is think about what you've actually given. You've got various experts in various fields coming on and imparting nuggets of gold.
Of course.
And and these little nuggets, because one of the key things as a coach, which you realize is that people know a lot of the information you give. So one of the key things that we talk about is, one of the key phrases we use is energy, action, result.
Yeah,
So you need energy in order to perform an action in order to get a result.
absolutely.
Now, so going back to what I was saying about knowledge and experience, people do have a lot of the knowledge, but because they don't apply it, because they don't have the experience on how to apply it,
They
it
never
never
get the
gets done.
experience. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're true.
And it's like when you started, you had to do everything yourself. But as you got more experienced at the role and how that knowledge was, you then said, actually, this bit is not for me. I need to give it out to somebody else because I can get more value by giving somebody else that role and doing some of the more key tasks of the business.
Absolutely.
And again, what the pandemic has done is, especially in terms of remote working, businesses have had to do it because they've had no choice.
Yep.
And what that's done is change people's mindset on control. Because before it was quite Victorian. Manager had to be in front of you to see
what you're doing,
what you're doing and make sure that you're doing.
that's what we call micromanaging, right?
It's not only micromanagement, it's a question of trust.
Absolutely.
I have to make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to, because so then I can justify it to whoever else to say, yeah, I've done it.
You're so right.
And that's very Victorian.
And now that's all changed.
Now that's all changed. Well, a lot of companies have realized actually we don't, because I mean, remote working is all about trust.
You've just nailed it right here. Like, I think I didn't realize until you said this right now, but I would like to say this today from what you're saying, that one good thing that this lockdown has brought back is trust.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing the lockdown has done, and this is very key because it was one of the experiences I had when at my very first job at a company called PPG. I started working for them, and there's two experiences I want to talk about from PPG.
Sure.
First of all, I was a chemist. So I'd gone to Sheffield University, graduated as a chemist. I then got a job as a laboratory chemist, and I was working in the industrial and automotive section. So we were working with a large company called Black & Decker, which most of you have heard.
Yeah.
And in the early 90s, they changed their colour of the workmate. And initially it was a jet black colour, and part of my role was to formulate the new colour so that in terms of the products. And it was a dirty brown colour, and I couldn't really understand why. Do you know why? Could you help me? Right? Yeah. The reason why it was a dirty brown colour is that it didn't look dirty when it was used. Right? So again, yeah, right. So going back, that's another point that we've got to talk about is it's a learning experience. It's a result based on outcome.
Yep.
So their outcome was, it doesn't matter how much our equipment get used, it can't look dirty.
Of course.
So therefore, why not give it the same colour as what it would be like if it was dirty? Then people wouldn't notice it.
Yep.
And then the other one, and this is more important in terms of current environment, PPG was a multinational company, many different aspects. And we had a director come over from America, and we were just talking at one time. And he casually asked me what my dad did. My dad worked at the company as well. He was a labourer. He worked in the paint shop. And I casually and flippantly, because I didn't know any better, says, "Oh, he's only a labourer." And he bit my head off. He then he made me understand the symbiotic relationship between all members or work colleagues, because again, that's why I started off looking at the mission statement. We'll come back to that in a minute.
Yep.
But in essence, what he said to me at that time was that, remember this, if your dad didn't do what he did, you couldn't do what you did.
Absolutely.
Then I couldn't do what I do.
Exactly.
Right?
It's a chain, right?
It's not only a chain. Each role is as important as the other.
Of course, 100%. 100%.
There may be differences in terms of contribution, or sorry, not even contribution. There may be differences in terms of perceived value.
Yep.
Right. However, if those roles aren't done at the time that they're required, then it doesn't work.
The business could fall apart.
Yeah, it goes back to an old story I've heard. I don't know how true this is, but apparently President Kennedy went to NASA in the early 60s after he had announced that they wanted to put a man on the moon.
Yep.
And he was going around NASA, and he asked the cleaner, "What's your job?" Cleaner turned around and says, "To put a man on the moon." Because that was the mission of NASA at the time, in the early 60s. Right?
That is a real good example. Even the cleaner of NASA is putting the man on the moon.
Yeah, because, and I mean, think about it, even now, especially in terms of the pandemic, what we have also realized is, what are the important jobs? right? Prior to the pandemic, you talk about a cleaner in a hospital, right? Think about the status. If you said I was a cleaner in a hospital, people wouldn't have even given you the time of day.
Exactly.
Today,
They're
the
hugging you.
importance of that role,
Yeah.
right, in terms of supporting all the medical staff that are looking after all the patients are sick, everything else.
Yeah.
And then also you look at the supermarket people, the people that stack shelves. Now, again, these people were deemed lowest of the low prior to the
Exactly.
pandemic.
Exactly.
Now they're all congratulated because, it just shows how important all the roles are, and all the
Absolutely.
top financiers, etc. Where are they?
You know,
People that they're not
they're all sitting at home while the key workers are running the country.
exactly.
Yeah.
But the main point I'm trying to get across is that actually everybody's role is as important as everybody else's.
Of course.
But then it's man ourselves, we put status on things because of how much value we perceive.
Yeah.
Again, value that you have and I have are based on our own internal values.
Yep.
So one of the key things, if you want to improve yourself, is to look at what you value. For example, as we go back to the earlier example I gave you in terms of tardiness, if you don't value time, are you going to look after it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You won't. I
So
mean, it's all about knowing the value of it, be a human, it be a thing, it be time, it be your business. It's all about valuing that, because if you don't value it, it's not going to come back to you and it's not going to generate what you want from it.
but more importantly, how you value other things shows how much you value yourself,
Absolutely.
right? Because everybody judges based on their own internal standards.
Absolutely.
I mean, one of the examples I give you is theft. Theft is very black and white.
Yep.
However, how many people have taken stationery from companies that they work for? Right? Yeah.
That is so
It's
true.
so all of a sudden, right? Because they can afford it, it's okay. But
But that,
theft is
but
very
that, but that,
ugly.
but that even starts at a younger age, right? It starts even at a
But
younger, when you go to your friend's house and you pick up their toy and just leave the house.
yeah, but again, that's down to values that is instilled in you from a younger age. I mean, one of the key things that's also happening in this pandemic is Black Lives Matters
Yeah.
in terms of the knowledge of how people from ethnic minorities have been treated,
Yep.
right? I mean, even this morning there was that footballer from Portsmouth from the 1930s or 20s, I can't remember exactly, who got selected for England, but because again, I don't know exactly about the story, so if please correct me if I'm quite
I,
wrong. But
I haven't read it, so I won't be able to
yeah,
correct you.
but apparently he was selected in the 1920s and 30s. Now, is it Portsmouth or Plymouth? Again, I can't remember. One of the southern clubs.
Okay.
They now want to have a statue of him as a positive role model to say, look, this person was selected and he's actually in the record books. But the only person that in my day that I know about was Viv Anderson,
Exactly.
because he was the first black person that I know of.
Exactly.
Well, I think officially he was.
Yep.
But it just shows, and I think one of the key things about Black Lives Matters is the fact that a lot of it is based on the values you have, and a lot of the values you have are instilled in you from a very young age.
Absolutely.
And I think one thing that we all need to do is actually look at what we value ourselves.
Yep.
And again, one opportunity during the pandemic is to look at yourself and reflect.
Of course.
Um,
I think that has increased amongst people to reflect on themselves, to see where they're going in life, to see where they're going in business. This 2 months, 3 months of lockdown, especially myself, there has been so much of reflection that I've done to not just as a property broker, but how can I help the population?
Mhm.
In how can I add value to me being on social media? And all of this has just put me on another set of mind. Like, there are so many people out there that require certain pieces of knowledge, like it be cybersecurity, like you mentioned, it be business coaching, it be property
Mhm.
development, property investment, banking. I've got a lawyer coming on tomorrow, so all that kind of stuff. There are so many people that require this knowledge, and I want to be a part of it. So all that self-reflection that I did over that time of the lockdown, today I can see the
Mhm.
benefits, the advantages that I've got. I mean, people are actually noticing me, and coming back to me and saying, yesterday I had a guy come in here and say, thank you for what
Yeah,
I'm doing.
I saw that.
He just walked into the office. Like today, I had a property developer who came in and said, like, you are doing amazing stuff. Certain things that you spoke about property development on your live sessions, which you did with other people. I've never dealt with those kind of things. I've never dealt with those situations, but now I know how to deal with those situations if I come across them. So
I mean, as I was going back, it's about knowledge, right? Knowledge and experience. Knowledge is very, I mean, one of the key things that I am, in my opinion anyway, I think the school system is broken. In basically because we teach our kids, we give them a lot of knowledge, but then yourself, if you were to employ a school kid or somebody that's just graduated right now, how much training would you have to give them?
at least 3 months.
Yeah.
At
So
least three
what does that
months.
tell you? There is they have all the knowledge, but no experience in which to apply that knowledge,
You're so right. You're so
right?
right. Absolutely.
And and that is a difference between because one of the key things that you in the employee you actually have to teach them how to think, and and that's why I think the education system is broken because they are spoon fed all the way up to degree level.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right? It's a results basis. You do this at this level, you'll get this. You do this at this level, you get this.
Yep.
Right? And then all of a sudden, when they go to work, it's not you do this. I want you to do this. Go find a way to do it.
And
And
then
all,
they're like,
and
where do I go? How do I do it? All that.
how do I do it? And it's to me what the education system needs to do is to teach people how to think. Because obviously the aptitude of various people is better or worse,
Exactly.
right? And you should have measurements for it, and that I
I
quite
mean,
agree. And
in a classroom, a class is never full of geniuses.
yes,
It's a variation of people. You could have a genius, you could have someone who is mid level, someone who is literally doing nothing. They're not clued on about school, college, university, and they can't give it their fullest. So, like you mentioned, there has to be that practicality of
yes,
teaching them experience in life, how to apply
mm,
their knowledge
yes,
into the experience that they have, and take
absolutely.
taking out that
Because
experience.
once they start doing that, all of a sudden, it goes from a what if to what can I?
Absolutely.
You know, instead of looking at the negatives of life, I can't. Is I can or how do I?
Yep.
I mean, one of the key things when you started your business was how do I do this?
Absolutely.
Right? You wouldn't have been as successful as you are if you were listed down your list and says, I can't do this, I can't do this. You think about what you could have written on your piece of paper
Exactly.
and the knowledge you have now. If you said, I can't do this, I can't do this, how many times have you come across a property deal where people are going, no, you can't do that? But then you've turned it around and you've made it work.
Yep. Totally get it.
And that's all down to going back to my very first point of mindset. How do I think about problems? And yes, there will be times where you have to make a tough call and not do something because again, that's the right thing to do. And that will be the thing that will happen with a lot of businesses. They will look down their order book and see, right, can I practically stay open? Right? Is it practical for me
Yep.
and for all my employees? If I'm going to have to restructure, how do I restructure in the most economic way and more importantly, in the most viable way?
Absolutely.
Because, one of the things a lot of people go, well, there will be a lot of, I was on a call yesterday with the Birmingham Chamber in terms of education. It is estimated in the West Midlands alone, there are going to be 44,000 young people out of work. Right? 44,000. Now, all of those people will need help. So the conference, the call was, okay, what systems, how can we enable it? How can we set up apprenticeships? How can we give these youngsters an opportunity to go to work, to earn a living, to get the right knowledge, so that they can be practical contributing members to society?
Absolutely.
And that's one of the key things that people need to realize. It's not just about having a job. It's about having a
the right mindset.
Yeah, it's not only the right mindset. It's having a positive attitude to make the most of what you are.
Absolutely.
And when you do that, you will succeed. I mean, if you go back to your class and look at, that's what you go back to when you were 15, 16, when you all left school for the first time, right? How many people have been successful in the class? And I can guarantee you, the ones that had a good work ethic to work hard, they would be the most successful.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree. I mean, today,
people, no matter how smart you are, if again, one of the key things that we talk about is action.
Yep.
You can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you don't utilize it, you're not going to get a result.
There's no point. There's no point to have that knowledge. And this is why I do this. But it's been absolutely amazing talking to you. There's so much that we can talk about how
one final point. I want to, there was 5 points I needed to make.
Sure.
So point 1 was mindset, right? Point 2 was on learning experience in terms of applying your knowledge to get firm in it. Point 3 is about decisions influence destination. So how you decide something will determine where you are going.
Exactly.
Point 4 is people have needs. We all have needs.
Of course.
So one of the key things you have to look at is what are their needs, and this is really highlighted in the current pandemic in terms of health and safety.
Yep.
Right. And again, businesses have needs because they're an entity in their own right as well.
Absolutely.
And finally, my final point is take ownership. Own whatever problem there is that you can control and you can influence. Because if you do that, then people around you will also learn from it. But most especially, the young kids that look up to you, they will see you as an example and hold that up, and it will instill it in them also to be positive role models.
Absolutely.
And that, on that point, I think that's probably a good point to finish on.
But thank you so much for coming on, sharing all that key, amazing knowledge of how to be knowledge driven, to use that knowledge to get that experience, to use that experience to generate the best business profits that you can generate. And not only in business, but in personal life, in education. If you're going to school, college, university, you've got to have the right mindset to get where you want to be. But thank you so much for coming on. Before I let you go, I do this with all my guests that come on here. What positive advice would you like to share? I mean, our whole live session has been about positivity. But one final time, what positive advice would you like to share with the world out there today so that they can take that advice on board and move forward in life?
One key thing I would always stress to people is be honest to yourself, right? Take away all the filters and be honest to yourself, because when you can look at yourself honestly, you can then change the things that need to be changed positively.
Of course.
Instead of just putting a plaster on it and hoping it'll go away.
Yeah, or dig yourself under the sand and just hide there.
Yeah. Because again, going back to what we were saying, if you are positive within yourself, that will flow out to people around you.
Absolutely.
So on that point, if people want to get in touch, obviously BLI
Coach.
_, right? Instagram me or
Absolutely.
look me up on LinkedIn, Taher Mulla in Birmingham. And obviously our website, buffin.co.uk. So
Super.
contact us from there. So
Uh,
thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Taher.
Thank
Take care.
you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
So that was Taher Mulla, who is a business coach. If you're looking to drive your business, you need the right mindset, you need the positivity to run your business, or it be any kind of positivity that you want the right mindset in there, get in touch with Taher Mulla on BLI_coach, and I'm sure he will help you out. But thank you so much to Taher Mulla for joining me today. Thank you to all the viewers that tuned in. I will see you tomorrow on my live sessions. I've got 3 of them tomorrow. It's going to be amazing. See you then. Take care. Bye-bye.